Welcome to the Month End Show, episode number 5, the show for go-to-market professionals, where we visit all the best bits from the month on MEDDICC Media. Let's take a look at what we've got coming up today.
A lot about what we talk about with the teams today is it's not how you close the deal, it's how you set it up.
This was someone who had the ear of the family to enough of a degree that we was able to get our proposal passed through. So
the ear of the family, that sounds a little bit like a scene from straight out of The Godfather.
Those are all things that are part of the paper process, and so it's really about getting ahead as quickly as you can. And you can start the paper process really starts perhaps before the first meeting.
We start with a sneak preview of an upcoming episode of Masters of MEDDICC, where I talk to the legendary GVP of Western Europe for Sprinklr, Adam Quartermaine.
I think what a lot of people have, and ourselves included at different times, have benefited from is money's been very cheap. Organisations have been able to invest in projects and programmes of work without a lot of internal scrutiny. And I think for many people that come into it, they don't really know, what role technology plays in business from the outside looking in, and what, substantial opportunity is for them to grow their careers and want to do really, really meaningful things. But you have to be in that space of where do I want to get to? How am I going to measure how I'm getting there? And how quickly is it realistic to get there? We tend to live in a world now where everything is accelerated. Rightly or wrongly, you see a lot of people that are in roles that they're probably not qualified for yet. So tactics and strategy, we would call playbook and process. The company is there and a culture is there to develop you to be great at delivering the outcomes that they want to deliver. But you've got to be great at developing yourself. A lot about what we talk about with the teams today is it's not how you close the deal, it's how you set it up.
What a conversation that was. You can catch the whole episode on MEDDICC's YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. Now it's time for a special episode of Elite Dealers with our CRO Pim and Senior Account Executive Jeffries.
But so this initial meeting, and the stakeholders that you were meeting at the time, how would you now put them into stakeholder categories if we look at MEDDPICC as a framework?
The benefit, the one of the reasons that this went really well is because we met a qualified champion early on, or we met someone who had the potential to be a champion from the very first meeting. That was the person who responded. This person had power and influence. We later really found that they had a vested interest in our success, and partially because our success was the success of their conversion rate, which was the metric he was wholly responsible for, and also because he was currently running 4 out of the 13 or 14 brands, and they were the biggest, but he definitely had a larger ambitions and saw this project as a really good way to drive the solution in the right direction and kind of saw the innovation behind it. So this person was vested in our success, and they were selling internally on our behalf because they really knew the other directors. They helped us navigate the executive board. This was someone who had the ear of the family to enough of a degree that we was able to get our proposal passed through. So
the ear of the family, that sounds a little bit like a scene from straight out of The Godfather.
It's not that cool, I don't think. Maybe hopefully they don't hear this and know what I'm talking about, but I definitely think it was the type of person that we were dealing with from the start, who was a qualified champion. And unbeknownst to me at the time, in the very early stages, I would have taken lots of meetings with a lot of people. In hindsight, making sure that you can double down on doing those well is the most important thing in sales, because that deal could have been seen from a lot further out, knowing that this is where we were dealing.
That's Elite Dealers, living up to the name of dealing you with eliteness. The full episode is linked below. Next up, Pim and I are back in the... hang on. I'm hearing we have some breaking news that this doesn't happen. Over to Nigel Ews in the MEDDIC newsroom.
Good evening and welcome to the news with me, Nigel Ews. We are sorry to interrupt your regularly scheduled program with some breaking news. An account executive at Johnson & Johnson's will need to go through a vendor approval process with the customer procurement team, adding an unexpected 4 weeks onto his paper process. Sources say that he is absolutely distraught, resulting in a broken toe. after kicking an office bin that turned out to be bolted to the ground. Back to you, Andy.
Thanks, Nigel. I've never heard of that company before. Johnson and Johnson. Can they just be called? Oh, I'm hearing we have more breaking news.
Once again, we have another breaking story. An employee from Schmeimel Inc. has just had a first meeting with a major target account and didn't take the time to prepare. She asked the same basic questions as the BDR and knew that the account was getting ready to launch a new product. This has led every single person in the UK to understand their credibility is gone, meaning another meeting with the major target account is beyond implausible. A spokesperson on the matter has described the situation as opportunity goes poof. That's all from me. Back to you, Andy.
Who is that guy? How does he keep interrupting?
We're back again with another breaking story. Just in, an epidemic is spreading through the sales industry at an alarming rate. MAD, also known as MEDDIC ambiguity disorder, is leading sales professionals across the globe to believe that they know the ins and outs of the wonderful MEDDPICC framework after reading one Reddit post on the sales subreddit. Doctors and MEDDIC experts are looking into the condition. Stay tuned for more information as the situation develops.
Is he done? Is he going to come back? He's not wrong about MEDDIC ambiguity disorder. Okay, anyways, next up, Pim and I are back in the MEDMEN studio discussing what people get wrong with the paper process. I mean, seriously, who was that guy?
How often does it happen where sellers are like, okay, it's the end of the quarter now, you need like on the customer side and internally resources to do things that are part of the paper process, legal, finance, procurement, like all these things, right? And they're super busy. And then how do you... There's a risk there of slippage because of not having like a clear understanding and execution against the paper process.
Yeah, and I'd say on top of that, things that we see are part of the paper process are things that don't typically get talked about, or at least sort of that they're sort of more or less tangible in the way that we think about them in sales. Things like negotiation, things like going into a conversation with various different stakeholders, whether it be procurement, whether it be a sort of a closing meeting with a pricing strategy in mind, with, you know, everything kind of worked out in terms of different pricing models, different commercial offers, all those types of things. That for me is part of the paper process. That's your internal paper process, particularly if you work for an organization where there's levels of approval and all those kinds of things you have to go through just to get a price to a customer. Those are all things that are part of the paper process. And so, you know, it's really about getting ahead as quickly as you can. And, you know, you can start the paper process really starts, you know, perhaps before the first meeting if you've got an NDA. You know, we're now seeing these really cool, innovative marketplaces like AWS Marketplace, which is seeming to be like a really great way for vendors and customers to work together towards a triple win, a win for AWS, a win for the ISV, a win for the customer.
Yeah.
That's really part of the paper process because it's kind of how are we getting the deal done?
How are you doing with your paper process? If you are in Q4 and you're not on top of it, as much as it pains me to say, pause this video and get on with it. And if you want to watch the full episode, the link is in the description below. So last month, our CMO, Jessie, headed over to San Francisco for the CMO Bootcamp, where she got to join some of the world's top CMOs to talk all things marketing. Jessie documented a journey for which you can see a sneak peek of here.
I am going to a CMO bootcamp. Just touched down in San Francisco. You know, there's a lot of people that I know that I work with that have anxiety.
I just finished the bootcamp, and honestly, I just feel incredibly emotional actually.
And that's all we've got time for this month, so thank you for joining us as always, and we'll see you the next time. And until then, may your champions be strong. Which says it right here.